What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel. We finally have it. Our first ancestry details for Pathfinder 2nd Edition are live, and it's details for Pathfinder's newest core race, the Goblin. Before we dive in though, real fast, be sure to hit that like button, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It helps out a whole lot. This channel is directly supported by patronage. Today, this episode of your Pathfinder 2nd Edition preview content was brought to you in part by the Inn of Planar Crossroads, who I just got off the horn with recording the next Around the Hearth for their channel. As always, Adam, Kane, Alex, Colin, Greg, Mal, thank you so much for your time, your support, your friendship. It means the whole world. Now, we need to talk about goblins. So goblins are a playable race in Pathfinder 1st Edition. I've never adventured with one before, but I know the stats exist. They're out there. There's variants of them. They are very, very, very iconic. So iconic that they've become a core race in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. In addition to bringing these guys up to core race status, Paizo's updated their lore a little bit to make them feel more heroic, a little less like here's bird muncher and here's dog killer, and they have fighter levels or they have barbarian levels, and they're hanging out with the party eating in the dumpster behind the inn while everybody else is in the inn. To quote Paizo, the trick was finding a way to let you play a goblin who has the feel of a Pathfinder goblin, who is also a little bit softer around the edges. A character who has a reason to work with a group of longshanks, as goblins refer to us big folk, as opposed to trying to light them on fire at the first opportunity. As a people, goblins have spent millennia feared, maligned, and even hunted, and sometimes for understandable reasons, as some rural goblin tribes still often direct cruelty, raiding, and mayhem towards wandering or vulnerable creatures. In recent decades, however, a new sort of hero has emerged from among these rough and tumble tribes. Such goblins bear the same oversized heads, pointed ears, red eyes, and jagged teeth of their crueler kin, but they have a noble or savvy streak that other goblins can't even imagine, let alone understand. These erstwhile heroes roam Galarion, often maintaining their distinctive cultural habits while spreading the enthusiasm, inscrutable quirkiness, love of puns and song, and unique mirth that mark goblin adventurers. Goblin adventurers often subtly perpetuate some of the qualities that have been characteristics of the creatures for millennia. They tend to flock to strong leaders and fiercely protect those companions who have protected them from physical harm, or who offer a sympathetic ear and sage advice when they learn of the goblin's woes. Some goblins remain deeply fascinated with fire or fearlessly devour meals that might turn others' stomachs. Others are inveterate tinkerers and view their companions' trash as components of gadgets yet to be made. Occasionally, fellow adventurers find these proclivities unsettling or odd, but more often than not, goblins' friends consider these qualities endearing. This is definitely a huge jump from Pathfinder 1st Edition's Goblin, and I still just don't know how to feel about it. I've never played a goblin before, but every Tuesday I'm playing an orc in the Inn of Planar Crossroads Rise of the Runelords game. Hey, by the way, if you're into Rise of the Runelords, follow this card right here to watch us have some shenanigans with it. And I always thought it was nurture rather than nature that dictated how a humanoid race interacted with the world. A goblin paladin might have been left at the church and raised in the name of Iomedae or Sarenrae or any of those other multitudes of deities that have paladins. A goblin wizard could be just as effective at spell slinging as a human wizard if he studied the books rather than, being afraid of the words on the books like other goblins. And we'll get to them very soon. Honestly, I'll have a lot more to say about goblins now in light of all this, because it feels weird to just that goblin is smarter than other goblins. That goblin knows not to pick his nose in public. He can be a paladin. I do get why they did it. It helps integrate them into society, both as in Pathfinder society and humanoid society. And there's that caveat there for the goblin adventurer who wants to join with a bunch of PCs that are just gonna say, oh, a goblin, let's kill it. But I feel like good roleplay solved all of that before. We'll have to see what goes on moving forward, especially with goblin NPCs and adventure paths that might be chock full of goblins. It almost feels like a brand new race, and I guess this is a brand new edition, so okay, sure, we'll see what happens. Now let's talk about, for the first time, how the goblin ancestry works in terms of your character sheet. To quote Paizo, it includes the base goblin ability boosts, dexterity, and charisma. Yeah, you heard that right. Goblins have a bonus to their charisma in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. What? They also have an ability flaw, which you assume is a -2, these might be -1s, to their wisdom. They get 6 bonus hit points, so they're a d6 racial hit die at first level. They have a base speed of 25 feet, and they start speaking Common and Goblin. We also see the rules for dark vision, which is an ability that lets goblins see in the dark just as well as they can see in normal light. One wonders if that means we're not looking around in black and white anymore with our dark vision, but these are just the basics. As Paizo says, the rules shared by all goblins. Beyond that, your goblin's unique ancestry allows you to choose one ability score other than dexterity or charisma to receive a boost. Perhaps you have some hobgoblin blood and have a boost to your constitution, or you descend from a long line of goblin alchemists and have a boost to intelligence. You can even gain a boost to wisdom to negate your flaw. And now we see the racial ability scores and how they will apply in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. It really feels a lot like Starfinder. This makes me think we'll start with base 10s for all of our ability scores at character creation, and we'll have something like 10-ish points to assign. We can dump our scores, but we don't get a point in return. I can't confirm that yet, but really it feels like we're taking a big cue from Starfinder for Pathfinder 2nd Edition, which is going to be a big change for sure moving forward. If I'm right, what that means is your goblins will no longer dump their intelligence to put points into their dexterity or maybe their wisdom. It also means that all players will have a charisma score of at least 10, which is great for resonance and possibly why they're doing it. I don't know how to feel yet. This is all very strange, and on Friday they're going to talk about more ancestries, which means Saturday morning right here on Black Dragon Gaming you'll hear more about the ancestries, but it definitely feels like not every member of the race in Pathfinder 2nd Edition that you might be playing is created equal. This makes more sense in my mind, I will say. Some orcs might not be as big and burly, some elves might be, big and burly. It's definitely a brave new world for sure, and I'm very excited to see more. Speaking of seeing more, today we've got 4 ancestry feats for the goblin. These feats are only available to goblins, and they help you define what goblin you want to play. These will probably make more sense anyway than goblins have charisma buffs in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Anywho, first ancestry feat is known as Burnet. This feat gives you a bonus to damage whenever you cast a fire spell or deal fire damage with an alchemical item. On top of that, it also increases any persistent fire damage you deal by 1. This is kind of like the Draconic Bloodline for your Pathfinder 1e sorcerers or the Orc Bloodline for them, which I'm very happy to see come back because it helps the Blaster caster prevail in combat. Of course, in 2nd Edition, the disparity between the Blaster Wizard and the Controller Wizard is probably most certainly going to level out. Nevertheless, I really enjoy it. I'm happy to see its return. The next feat we're going to talk about is known as Junk Tinkerer. A goblin with this feat can craft ordinary items and weapons out of junk and scrap they find almost anywhere. These weapons are of poor quality and they break really easy, but you'll always have a weapon. Ancestry feat number 3 is known as Razor Teeth, which grants you an attack with your mouthful of razor sharp teeth that does 1d6 piercing damage, which I think I already like much better than Junk Tinkerer because that's not a poor weapon. But also, of course, we haven't seen how natural attacks are going to work in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, something my inner druid is very curious to learn. For now though, that seems really strong, and I think it's definitely within the Goblin's wheelhouse to start taking crafting feats to eventually make a mithril or adamantine grill they can slap in there for extra damage and stuff. The last of the ancestry feats we're talking about today is known as Very Sneaky. It lets you move 5 feet farther when you take an action to sneak, which normally lets you move at half speed, and potentially renders your target flat-footed against a follow-up strike. You assume there's going to be some kind of reflex DC or maybe a perception DC involved. We don't know yet, but that feels normal in this strange world where goblins have buffs to their charisma. Really, I still don't know how to feel about any of this. I'm really happy that goblins made core status, but again, these guys are super iconic to Paizo, so much so that they've even gotten a rebranding in 2nd Edition. How do you guys feel about what's going on right now? Are you stoked out there to play a goblin in 2nd Edition? Are you stoked to finally have a goblin bard who doesn't have a neg to their charisma? And most importantly, guys, are we still stoked out there for Pathfinder 2nd Edition? Because I know I am. Don't forget, our Doomsday Dawn giveaway is still live right now. We're 33% of the way towards our $150 a month goal. Once we reach $150 a month on Patreon, enough for me to take a day off work, I'll run you and 5 of your fellow subscribers through the Doomsday Dawn Adventure playtest, the first published piece of material for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. If you'd like to hear more about the giveaway, follow this card right here. And as always, our Patreon is in the description. Again, guys, be sure to like and subscribe for more videos. Our next Pathfinder 2nd Edition news roundup, where we'll be talking about some of the feats from the other ancestries in the game, something I'm very stoked for, and I'm sure you are as well, drops this Saturday.